Hi, Mike Kennedy with you today, and this is an extremely short knife review because it really didn't work out. I saw this knife at a cooking store and I was impressed with it. They're made by wait a second. Tramontina, Tramontina. It says porterhouse stainless steel high carbon knife. And what interested me from a bushcraft point of view was this was a blade that I found that had the serrations at the end rather than the beginning. There are some survival knives that have the serration at the beginning with the idea that you're going to be doing a lot of cutting, but they aren't as good for doing some wood carving and things like that you would be doing more with bushcraft than survival. I mean, survival, this would probably be superior for cutting a seatbelt and things like that. So I just thought I'd compare how good this carved wood. And I compared it with my knockoff, not my real Mora, my nice Mora, a $5 Woodsman knife. These guys, Dan's Depot, these were made in China, and I'm carving my daughter's walking stick. I used the Tramontina to carve this bigger notch, and I used the Woodsman, let's just say Scandinavian cut knife, because that's what I'm going to say is important to make these two notches. And I'll tell you, it was dramatically easier to cut with the Scandinavian cut than with this cut. This is a double bevel, but it's only on one side. In other words, this side of the knife is completely flat, but this side has a bevel, then another small bevel, so they call it a double bevel. One reason why people like Scandinavian knives, and this seems to hold true with what I just did, is that they're better for carving wood because they just have one bevel, so they kind of slide into the wood easier. Where a knife like this, you have this first bevel, and then it hits resistance when it hits the second bevel, where this is all just one bevel for about half of the knife, you can see here. So just an interesting point of view that the Scandinavian grind to me is superior for wood carving, for doing tasks like that. This would be superior for cutting cordage and things like that. I suppose you could use this for a saw even to some degree, but this was fairly inexpensive too. I think this was like $12. The Mora knives, this was a $5 knockoff of a Mora knife, but my good Mora knife costs less than $20. So there's no excuse not to have a good Mora. I've got the Mora HQ Robust, but I was just trying the knockoff one to see. But so anyway, there's my thoughts on the this style of knife. Now, if this knife had been a Scandinavian style, it might have performed much differently. This says it's stain-free high carbon steel, which I have no idea what that is. Made in Brazil. I'll have to look into it and see. But if say I was to, and I won't be doing this, if I was to reprofile this knife, in other words, change the way it's actually shaped, I would take this and make it a Scandinavian grind. In other words, I would make one bevel, and I would probably extend it down further and still leave the tip serrated. And then I would have kind of the best of both worlds. I'd have a Scandinavian knife, plus I'd have a small serration, and it's good for cutting cordage and things like that, or plants and things. It does have some superior uses, but if this is really high carbon steel, I don't know what when it's stain free, it makes me think it's just another grade of stainless steel. But I suppose it would be possible with a lot of work to re-bevel this. This micro bevel is only on one side. You can see the other bevels on both sides. So if you were to just remove that micro bevel and change the degree angle of this bevel so that it's more in line with what a Scandinavian grind like a Mora knife is, I think you could have something. But I've just been experimenting with that idea because so many bushcraft people are against the type of knives that have the bevel at the beginning, because that's where you do a lot of your fine carving, and you can't really do that fine carving with a serrated edge. But a serrated edge still is valuable, and you find them more on survival knives because people think that you're going to have more uses where you may be cutting. If you were to look at a knife for a fireman or rescue person, it most likely would probably have a serrated edge, so it could cut seat belts and things like that. So, but for a pure blade that's going to cut mostly wood, it's really hard to beat the Scandinavian grind, I think. I haven't tried millions of knives. I don't have millions of dollars to spend on them, but my opinion is that the Mora HQ knife, especially, that I have, is a very good, superior knife. It was interesting, I heard one review from another fellow, and he had gotten this full Tang Mora knife, and it was thicker. And he felt that the thickness of the knife, the increased thickness, actually created more resistance when you were carving. So that was interesting, as they made this particular knife sturdier, and they made it a full Tang. Most Mora knives, and like I say, this isn't a Mora, but it's a knockoff, and most Mora knives, the Tang goes in through to about here. But they're very rugged, and people never break them. People who break Mora knives can break full Tang knives. This is a full Tang knife. You can see that the metal extends all the way down to the butt of the knife. So they call it full Tang. And, you know, inherently stronger because you don't have a small piece combined with wood, so it's less likely to break. But I guess if you abuse any knife, you can get it to break. I mean, people purposely try to break knives to see which knife is stronger, but I don't know if that's a real test of what you're going to be doing with a knife that you're using in a survival situation, or for carving, for bushcraft, or whatever. But some people do that, where they'll actually put it in a vise and see how much it takes to break it. I don't have money to break knives. Maybe I could break $5 knives, but certainly couldn't break anything more than that. But like I say, I'm satisfied with my Mora Robust HQ. It's a little bit thicker than the standard Mora, which I have the Mora Clipper, and I just like it. It's a little more rugged, and it does a good job. So I'll be doing some more on this. I've got to, what I've got here is a notch to hold some, here I've got my rosary beads up there, but that made me think this is going to be the ranger beads. They're going to be some pretend ranger beads. This is for a young child, 6-year-old, so it's more of a decoration. It's going to be hanging down from here. Then I cut 2 slots where I'm going to wind some reflective paracord here too, also as well. And I'm going to put some ranger bands on it, which are just cut inner tubes that are going to hold the paracord in place well. I'm going to put a rubber crutch tip on the bottom of this, and I'm going to do a few other things to make it look fancy. I don't know if I'll put a compass in it maybe, or something like that, but I'm going to make it look well and be functional, And yeah, 6th grader isn't going to be using, probably isn't going to be taking off the paracord and building a shelter, or you know, using it for firebow, but it's going to look cool. That's all that counts. So there we go, knife review and a little walking stick. And this is lilac. I'm in the process of cutting down some lilac bushes in my house because they've gotten too big, so I'm keeping straight sections and letting it cure in the house. For this one's cured for a year, so it won't split and check. Check is when it splits at the end. You know, can get all done carving something and then all of a sudden leave it out a while and it starts cracking. That's called checking. But this one, when I get it all carved, and I don't know if I'm gonna stain it or not, but I'm gonna put, she commented that this was really rough, so I'm gonna put a polyurethane type spray or brush, some type of thing on it, and that will protect the wood and also make it smoother. And I don't know if I like gripping the bare wood or the polyurethane wood. I don't like gripping paracord or ranger band or whatever. So that's what I'm going to do for her, and if she doesn't like it, I can always put some material there for her to grip. I may carve her initials into it too as well. But there we go. Little review on, I guess, why my idea about this knife didn't work as a bushcraft knife, and why I like the Scandinavian grind for carving. So, Mike Kennedy saying God bless. Bye.